Hello and welcome to We the People. The recent execution of Ajmal Kasab, the principal convict in the Mumbai attacks case, was ironically accompanied by a larger global debate on whether capital punishment should continue or not. At the United Nations, a majority of countries actually said it was time to abolish the death penalty. India, however, along with several South Asian countries, voted against this resolution and argued in favor of the continuance of capital punishment. As we look back at the execution of Kasab and we look ahead at the approaching anniversary of the Parliament attack case, we've had the principal opposition party saying, why has there been a continued delay in the Afzal Guru case when it comes to the Parliament attack? At the same time, you've had a panel of former judges write to the president talking about how at least in 13 cases, the Supreme Court erroneously passed the death sentence. On We the People today, we're asking whether it's time for India to step back and review its position on capital punishment. I'd like to start with Ujjwal Nikam because we've seen you, Mr. Nikam, as the very vocal public prosecutor in the Ajmal Kasab case. There are people who have argued philosophically that capital punishment, no matter how grave the crime, should not be applied because it's a regressive award philosophically. Did you or have you ever, in all your years, paused to consider whether the state's punishment should be to take a life?
I, for one, of the opinion that we must continue the death penalty. There are two reasons. Death penalty in jurisprudence, it is a deterrent sentence, and it is not the sentence recommended or prescribed only to the very criminal, but also give a strong signal to the like-minded people. Now, unfortunately, in our country, I must say that the execution of a death penalty is so delayed, therefore this debate has been cropped up. So we must have certain radical changes in our constitution.
In how long it takes?
Yes, article. And so far as the pardoning procedure is concerned, whether the president of our country should be under legal obligation to dispose of within time limit or not.
Yeah. And in Kasab's case, one of the arguments that you made was that there wasn't any remorse.
Absolutely, there was no repentance, no remorse. In fact, the Kasab, while killing the innocent person, he was enjoying the killing. I don't say that our country is a barbaric country, so tooth for tooth or flesh for flesh. No, I don't say it like that. But for a certain category of the criminals, death penalty is must.
Mr. Subramaniam, you actually represented the Maharashtra government in the Ajmal Kasab case as well. But while representing this case, was there ever a flicker of doubt in your head on the philosophical debate that arises out of capital punishment per se?
There is room for a philosophical debate. It's not out of place at all. The philosophical debate is that do you have objectively identifiable criteria on the basis of which judges can award death sentence, and do you have, shall we say, absence of such criteria which can lead to somewhat subjective impressions which enable judges to award death sentence. So when we argued the Kasab case with Mr. Nikam, I told him that we will follow a slightly philosophical approach, which is that first of all, it is a case where due process has got to be observed. And we made out like a table that these are the factors, one of which of course is the gravity of the crime, the number of people, the lack of motive, the kind of people who were attacked, then the continuing velocity of attack, and then we put some kind of a notional value and asked the judge that let's put all this together on the one side. Let us see, is there anything which he can speak up for himself? Yes, he's young.
Yeah.
Yes, he's not particularly educated. But even we put forward this as a prosecutor and said that when you look at all this, there is an inexorability about the imposition of death sentence.
Yeah.
In other words, what I would like to say, Barka, is that a death sentence must be retained given the Indian context because it does act as a psychological deterrent, whether we like it or not. But when you impose the sentence, the judge must arrive at a conclusion that there is no other penalty which is commensurate.
So it can't be emotional, it can't be impetuous.
Yes, it has to be actually
almost mathematical. What happens then when politics takes over? Kasab, many people admiringly actually conceded was done in a top secret cover, which was perhaps the right way to do it. But you had the BJP almost immediately saying, all right, what happened to Afzal Guru? Now, politics, whether it's in the Rajiv Gandhi case in Tamil Nadu, whether it's in Afzal Guru in Jammu and Kashmir, whether it's in the Bhular case in Punjab, politics seems to be determining choices and not mathematical precision.
I think what Gopalji is saying is
Yeah.
a fact of mathematical precision. I think that is in the pronouncement of the judgment. And once the judgments are delivered, I don't think politics creeps into trying to change those judgments. Unfortunately or fortunately, we do get into this whole debate of politics, especially in certain cases which have a political angle to it, in which terror could be involved, in which activities against certain leaders could be involved. Whatever it may be, I think we must try and keep politics out of this whole game. Because remember, if we want to be called a civilized society, then just as our instruments of trying to punish anybody should be as perfect as possible, once a judgment has been given, we must both be humane as well as be strong enough to punish those who need to be punished. And I broadly agree with what Gopalji is saying. I think death penalty is something that we do need to accept. And I think that is something in our current reality of India, something we must accept. We must also be sure that hankering for something, because it may give you a few political gains here or there, is an unfortunate aspect.
Do you accept the argument that impact on law and order when something is politically volatile? So that is the argument that has been made in the Bhular case in Punjab, in the Rajiv Gandhi case in Tamil Nadu, and the Afzal Guru case in Jammu and Kashmir, that it's politically precarious. Do you think that's a good reason to step back and say, keep this person in prison for life, don't kill him?
No, not in changing the sentence, unless, of course, the president decides to do so for whatever reasons.
Chandan, why the immediate clamour from the BJP on the Afzal Guru case within minutes of the Kasab decision?
Because I think there has been a grave failure on the part of the state to carry out a sentence that has been established and re-established. There was no reason why the matter has been kept pending for so long in the name of the pending mercy petition. This provision of the mercy petition is often used by the government of the day to introduce an element of politics.
But now you have this precedent of assemblies actually passing unanimous resolutions on cases that have been determined by law.
I think that's absolutely irrelevant. It's obiter and should be dismissed out of hand. They have no business interfering. There is a due process of law that has been that has established a crime, and in most cases, I have very little reason to doubt the claim that Supreme Court really takes meticulous care in awarding death sentences. Some erroneous decisions may have happened, but I mean, I would say the vast majority of cases, decisions are reached with the kind of mathematical precision that Mr. Subramanian was talking about. There is
So
really
you're
no
saying the
scope.
mercy petition itself is something you don't agree with?
If there is a mercy petition provision, the president must allow only his or her conscience in this particular matter.
And not be advised by the
Now,
government
then
of the
when
day.
it goes back to the cabinet, you're throwing it open into the political arena.
So the current structure where the president is actually refers it back to the government is something you don't agree with?
I think that should be scrapped. But one decision that the president cannot take is to defer indefinitely.
I mean, sorry, but
Yeah.
I mean, it's a very important point which I think Chandan has made,
Yeah.
particularly in the context of the Parliament attack case. I happen to be a prosecutor in
Yes.
that case. I must say that the same kind of mathematical exactitude was also involved in the Parliament attack case. But I think people must never forget that we must pay homage to all those security agencies who acted in time.
You spoke about mathematical precision, Mr. Subramanian, but yet we did see one of the key accused, S.A.R. Gilani, being acquitted by the highest court of the land. So, Vrinda, you have argued, of course, one philosophically against capital punishment, even as applied to Ajmal Kasab. But for those who say that the Parliament attack case, now the verdict, the last word has been spoken by the Supreme Court. And it's politics that is delaying the operationalization, as it were, of the Supreme Court decision. What would you say?
I think it's really wrong, and I think that is the politics that BJP indulges in, to equate Kasab with Afzal Guru. Ajmal Kasab's case and Afzal Guru's case stand on very different footings, and I think there's a deliberate blurring that is taking place here constantly. Apart from the fact that Afzal Guru was not holding a gun and did not kill anybody or shoot anybody, secondly, there continued to be a conversation that was there fair trial. It is in fact recorded in the judgment of the Supreme Court, the confusion over the availability of the counsel. Thirdly, he has spoken in his statement of accused about torture. There has been another television channel that actually did a sting operation on the person. It was shown only once. It disappeared thereafter. But it corroborated the story of Afzal. There are many things at play over here. The last word on Afzal Guru has not yet been spoken. The last word takes place when a mercy petition is rejected.
So you're saying the Supreme Court verdict? You're saying the
here.
Supreme Court verdict is not the last word. It is the
Not
president's
under the
decision.
Indian Constitution.
Okay.
Do you have the NDTV Profit app? All the markets, all the news and your own homemade, ready-made portfolio available there for you.
We will right now answer what you should sell, what you should buy when markets are down.
Download at ndtvprofit.com/apps. Get the best app from the channel you trust.